And we're rolling. Thank you for listening to My Team Sucks. Joining me today is Chelsea Coleman. Chelsea, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you, Ethan?
I am okay. So, for the listening audience who doesn't know, two things you should know about Chelsea. One is she is my cousin, so that's a nice
True.
little. That's a nice thing to have some family on the podcast. And second of all, she is the daughter of the late great broadcaster Jerry Coleman of the San Diego Padres. That's also true, correct?
Also true.
So I think I before I moved to California, I visited twice. Once was in college, and then once when I was 8 years old. And I think one of the first places we went was to your place in San Diego. And I still have like in my house like a signed photo that your dad signed for me when it was like 1993, but I
No
still have it.
way.
So, yeah, I think I actually have it in my place in Los Angeles now. I went home and I'm like, may as well bring it. It's a California relic, so I may as well have it.
Yeah, amazing. I think I have one of those too. He had some stock pictures in his desk, and I asked him to sign one for me once, and so it's on my
There
bookshelf.
you go. I vaguely remember a Tony Gwynn autograph at some point as well. I don't know if it was for me or there's a photo of you. I'm not quite sure what exactly it is, but in my mind, there's like a Tony Gwynn Chelsea memory.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tony was always like the nicest player in my memory of him, and he would always, poor guy, I would have him sign balls for my friends, or I would get my dad to have him sign balls, and he always was nice about it and did it, which not everybody would be, and I wouldn't blame them.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, I guess most of this podcast will be talking sort of war stories from Padres past to as recently as we can go. So Tony was great. That's nice. If were there any Padre players that were less than great that you feel free to identify on the podcast?
Oh, I mean, when I was young, that era, I definitely never would have been allowed to witness that. My dad kept things, pretty. There were two worlds. There was baseball world, and then there was, my world. So no, when I was young, I don't remember that at all. I will say, I was on the pod squad later in life, which is this group of like team ambassadors was our official title. Not to be confused with cheerleaders, but we were on the field and interacted with players, and there were some that were a little more like mischievous, I guess. But no, I don't remember any like blatant bad behavior.
Okay, well, that's encouraging. I feel like with
Mhm.
baseball players, if you can get them not to be on that behaving poorly, that's good a sign as much as any.
I don't
Uh,
think there was, when I would occasionally travel with the team when I was a kid, and they would call my dad the colonel. So I don't think they necessarily wanted to do that around me either.
yeah, they didn't want to unleash get the wrath of the colonel
Right.
involved on. Yeah, they didn't want to deal with the colonel. So let's
Mhm.
talk about Pod Squad. So how long were you on that? What did that entail, and what was that experience like with the Padres organization?
Oh my goodness. For me, it was actually very stressful. I don't think it was a natural job for me. But I did it when I was 18. That was when you were allowed to do it. And all the
Hmm.
way through college, I would do it every summer. And it was stressful for me because what we were asked to do was to find all the participants for all the in game promotions. So, like the kid who announces the first batter up of the inning, or finding someone to do like the hat challenge where they put the ball into
Mm,
the hat and you have to choose the
right.
hat and win a prize. And the thing about baseball is, is it's not like, this half inning is done in 15 minutes. So it could be a really fast one, two, three, and you have to be in a certain place with your participant and having had them sign all these waivers. So that just actually really stressed me out, but it was it was great pay. And
Right. Yeah, I can
mhm.
imagine. It's also like a nonstop smile fest where you have to like sort of be on a game positivity at all moments, which I imagine must be pretty exhausting.
Yeah, yeah. major league memories is what they referred to there. We were always charged with creating them.
So yeah, so one thing I feel, even though I've been in LA for a while now, I feel like I have a sense of how California baseball fans work, but I don't feel like I have necessarily a sense of Padres fans. I did go to a Jets Chargers game at one point and saw a glimpse of San Diego sports fans in general. That was interesting, but I don't really know if like the football fans and how they relate to the baseball fans. What would you generally say is like the culture of Padres fans?
Well, yeah, I would say it's nothing quite like the Chargers fan base. Um, well, it's different. There's some nuances, and then if you're going to compare it to the LA fan base, I mean, we're a much younger franchise, obviously, and the Dodgers have bi-coastal long history
Right.
that we don't, and so I not I don't want to rag on the San Diego fan base, but they call us fair weather fans
Right.
because we're there when we're doing well, and I wouldn't say that we're known for being the most engaged and knowledgeable fan base.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have one friend who is a Padres fan outside of you, and I feel like if you have a Padres fan friend, there's one friend who's from San Diego. If you're not in San Diego directly, and he is still mad. I was actually at this game in the 1998 World Series. I don't know if you remember this against the Yankees, but
Yeah, I was likely
where
there.
you may have been there. I remember me and my dad were there, and we tried to go into the announcer's booth to say hi to your dad, and they wouldn't let us in, so we
What?
just couldn't see him. I know, it's some bullshit.
That
But
is some bullshit.
yeah, so it was just, I was like, he's there. He's like 10 feet away, but oh well. But there was that moment where Tino Martinez hit that huge home run. I think it was a grand slam. I mean, yeah, it was a grand slam. I remember it very well. And, but the pitch
Yeah, it
before
wasn't a
that,
good outing for us.
yeah, it was not. But that pitch before that, I've watched that highlight a bunch because it's like, I was there for it. And let me revisit my highlights of my youth when things get bad. I do that a lot. And the pitch before that was a strike, even though it was called a ball. And my friend, who's a
Mm-hmm.
Padres fan, has never forgotten that. He's still mad about that pitch, and
It's
it's one of
hard to
those things where,
forget.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was just it's still it's in, yeah. I always love that when you like an iconic memory for one fan is like the worst memory for another fan base. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but also that's like, not to go to that. That's it. That's the closest the Padres have gotten in our lifetimes.
Well, I was
So
in utero for the 1984 World Series, so I was
yeah.
there too. But
Oh, yes, you were there. That is
uh-huh.
fair. You in some form you were there.
Uh-huh.
But so yes, in terms of our pro-choice lifetimes, we that's the closest it's been. But yeah, so go through '98. I guess let's talk about how that experience was for you.
Oh, well, it was so exciting. I remember when they came home from winning the division series, I believe, and we all met them as their buses came in, and we were, waving our towels because they give away towels. That's one of the things they do in San Diego that probably doesn't happen on the East Coast, but you get these like great beach towels. And we all had our beach towels that we were waving around our heads and shouting "Keep the faith." That's a big foundational memory for me. That was great. It was so exciting, and I do feel like that was sort of 2003. We moved to the new stadium, and that was sort of
Right.
like the end of our glory days that season, and like kind of I feel like the Padres have sort of found their soul again. They're adding color back into their uniforms, and there was this period in like the early 2000s until now where we just like decided that we wanted to, use this terrible like beige color that we called
Yeah.
sand, and like got rid of the orange, which was the like only fun thing about the uniform. So it's big for me, and I'm excited. I feel like the team this year, young. It was so fun to watch everybody, even though it was this abbreviated season. And I'm excited for next year, like legitimately. You know, you're used to being
Yeah, no, the
disappointed as a Padres fan, um, but you still love your like lovable Padres.
right.
So
Yeah, it's been like yeah, so it's been a while. So other than the uniforms, what about that stretch has been the most frustrating aspect of being a Padres family, not just fan, family almost.
I think if you're an old Padres fan and you like remember going to the Murph before it was called the Q or Qualcomm, and
Right.
you know you remember all these sort of like homegrown players, you know, moving to the new stadium was new, and it felt, you know, all these new stadiums felt commercial in a way that stadiums I don't think did before, and everything was sort of just an opportunity to make money and advertise, and that's sort of the name of the game. But I think it you know, games became a thing to do downtown as opposed to something that people sought out. So I think that
Right.
is probably also a reason why the feeling of being a fan is a little I don't know. I think we've like, you know, we've settled into our new environment now, if that makes any sense, and we're ready to be
Right.
good again.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like when you have these, I feel like in the last 20 years in sports, there's been this trend, like you said, with stadiums or just in general, where it's like a place to go to have a meal. It's not necessarily
Yeah.
to go to watch a game.
You know
But I
what,
feel like,
Ethan? I can't
mhm,
even find a hot dog at Petco Park.
really,
I'm not kidding you. I don't like there's Neapolitan style pizza, but there's no hot dog.
how much does that Neapolitan style pizza cost?
I don't even know because I'm not going to eat it because I'm so annoyed. But the beers are a good like $10.
Yeah, that's cheap,
Mhm.
and that sounds like a bargain compared to Dodger Stadium. So
Oh
you
well,
got San Diego prices. I'm like, what, $10 for a beer? Wow, what is this?
no
The
big deal.
'90s? It's just. But yeah, so that's yeah, but it is like a thing where I feel like you said, things have sort of settled in where there was this sort of frustration maybe like 5, 10, 15 years ago where we're like, this is what sports has become really, and now I
Yeah,
feel like in general it's like, oh, this is the reality. Okay, so we can adjust to this reality and now just accept that things have gone to where they are, and now the real fans can show their true colors.
yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah. So let's talk. Let's talk Manny Machado a little bit. I don't know how active you followed him, but he was a player who, before he signed with the Padres, was I'll say controversial. That's a nice way of putting it. But he
Yeah,
is someone who, when you don't hustle in a World Series game and you don't like run out a play that I think it was first base, like he had a chance to make it and he just didn't hustle it out. And people were like, it's in the World Series in a contract year. Like, what the hell are you doing?
uh-huh.
And then he signed with the Padres. So what I feel like people have a good sense of what the Manny Machado experience was before he signed with the Padres. What would you say as a following the Padres, would you say Manny Machado sort of is like from your point of view?
Well, I mean, watching the way he is with the other younger players, it seems like
Mm-hmm.
he's acting as sort of a mentor, which is cool. I do think there is a little, you know, obviously he's our biggest deal, right? Like he's our most expensive
Right.
player. And so there's a lot of expectation around that. And I don't know that he totally lived up to that. But it's a weird year and I don't know how we're explaining that. But I think we're, you know, cautiously optimistic about his
Right.
role. Uh-huh. And I mean, I think like watching, you know, like Hosmer and Tatis and Manny this year, it seemed like they were just having fun in a way that was really fun to watch too. So it seemed like a good combo.
Yeah, that's interesting because I definitely, yeah, the Padres are one of those teams right now. I feel like sort of are on the ups. There's no denying that they are definitely going to be much more. They after decade plus of general anonymity, they are a team that's built. They have a young foundation, which is nice. But it's interesting like
Hopefully,
maybe
like,
maybe
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say the other joke about the
no.
Padres is that we're the farm team for the whole, you know, uh, league. So hopefully we hold on to people.
Yeah. So but yeah, I think you won't trade. It seems like your players are not going to be traded. Like you have enough of a
Mhm.
foundation that they're like, oh no, these players. And you have that. What's your catcher's name? He's one of the better young catchers. I forget his name exactly, but
I am not going to be able to tell you that.
oh, I'm sorry. Sorry to call you out like that, but we'll leave it in the episode notes. I'll
Uh-huh.
leave it in the intro. But yeah, so it is interesting. Maybe Manny Machado's growing up. Who knows? We'll see what happens in a real baseball season. How about that?
Yeah, right. I know that's so funny that we all got so caught up in this abbreviated season that's going to have a little asterisk next to it forever.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw with the whole Justin Turner coming out after getting a
Yeah,
positive test thing.
yeah,
That
that was
was
sad.
that. It's interesting with that. It's just like the story before that was the Rays taking Blake Snell out before when he was pitching so dominantly. And I feel like that was going to be the story, but now it's all about Justin Turner being wildly reckless. That's sort of become the story. And it's like a weird 2020 in a nutshell baseball season kind of moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
like Dave Roberts is actually someone I remember from being a kid because he was a coach with the Padres for a long time.
Right, that's true.
And he was like right there, and I was like, not next to Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. As a Yankees fan, Dave Roberts is a frustrating figure in our history from the 2004 Red Sox series. But
Fair.
I'm happy that the Dodgers, even though I don't have much attachment to them, I'm happy that they finally got over the hump, which is it's nice to see. But
Yeah.
what would you like? What is like the Padres like? That's the thing. I feel like with the Dodgers, they have the Giants, and that's like the big rivalry in that region. But like, I don't necessarily associate the Padres with a rivalry. I guess they have division rivalries, but what would you say is like the Padres like fans' feelings about other teams?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And, when I worked on the pod spot, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to turn off if you can hear the little dings
Oh,
on my,
it's okay. Yeah,
I'm,
it's fine.
I'm,
We'll live.
I'm not very literate with these sorts of things. Uh, anyway, it's definitely the Dodgers. I don't know that the Dodgers really like care. But when I worked on the pod squad, that was always a thing that we had to be extra cautious because we were dealing with fans that might get into fights because Dodgers fans always came down to Padres games.
Right.
So it was always, there was a lot of. Can I swear on this?
No, no, go for it. Go say
Okay.
everything you want
Okay.
to
Great.
say on that front.
Yeah. No. Like lots of shit talking, and just very drunk bros getting into fights in the stadiums. So I think, San Diego has just in general, sort of this little sister complex about LA, and beating LA would feel so good, but we so rarely get to do it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's
Mm-hmm.
nice when you beat your rivals after a long stretch. But now maybe you'll have a chance in the next coming years to actually play them in October when things are relevant in and have some sweet vengeance and have the fights go the other way on the field at
That would
least.
be great. That would be great.
Yeah. All
But yeah,
right.
I don't. I mean, like during the games, you'll hear people chanting "Beat LA." That's what we all say.
That's the most polite
Mm-hmm.
trash talk I've ever heard is beat LA. It's
Oh,
very
that's
it's
just
very
that's the crowd, but yeah.
yeah. So it's definitely the Dodgers. What is if you had to pick like what what you want to see, not just on the field, like what is like how is what's the best like Padres like moment that you could have like other than obviously in the World Series, what is like the best thing that you could think of possibly happening to the Padres that you haven't encountered in your lifetime?
I mean, making it and winning the World Series would be lovely.
Yes.
Uh, but I don't know. I think the teams that have excited me the most are the teams that play small ball. That's sort of, the late 90s. That's what we were doing.
Right.
And it seems like we're doing that again. So, yeah, I just would like us to leave less men stranded on base. And I would like to see the chemistry that I saw this year carry forward into the next couple of
Hmm.
years. And I would like to make it to the World Series.
Yeah, that's the dream. But yeah, and make it. It's one thing like when you win the world, make it to the World Series. And I say that I sound like the worst Yankees fan right now. It's like, yeah, it's one thing to win the World Series, but
Oh, I'm so
but
used
it's
to it.
yeah, I know. It's just but when making it to the World Series, winning the way your way, like the way your franchise
Mm.
plays, or winning a championship, like playing the way, not necessarily, there's no right way, right or wrong way,
Yeah.
other than cheating. But
Oh,
like,
yeah. I mean, I guess if
uh,
we're getting a little more specific, I want like all 7 games, and I want it to be scrappy, and I want it to be fun baseball, but I want us to win.
yes, that
Hmm.
sounds great.
Hmm.
Well, Chelsea, I want to give some props to your restaurant in South Park. 'Cause it's in South Park, right, in San Diego,
It
the
is,
Rose.
yeah. Hmm.
Yes, it is a wonderful wine bar, and it's I've been there, I think, twice, maybe just once. I'm not sure. I think twice. I was there with my mom. That's the distinct memory.
Yeah.
But so give it, pitch it out. Where can people find it online? All that stuff.
Oh, thank you. So it's the rosewinebar.com, pretty straightforward.
Hmm.
And we're also about to open a second place, but we're going to go ahead and let this pandemic pass by before we do that, which is
That
going to
sounds
be a
smart.
gin and oyster bar. And it's
Ooh.
called Mabel's Gone Fishing. So you can find that at mabelsgonefishing.com.
Wow, I didn't. You're a full restaurateur. That's
Working
I'm
on it once I
allergic
get the
to.
second one open.
Yeah, I'm allergic to shellfish and I hate gin, but I will recommend that as highly
Well,
as
you
I
can come to the
possibly can.
roast.
I'll come to the Rose. Yes, that's what I'll
Yeah.
do.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Chelsea, for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Send my love to everyone.
I will. It's so good to talk to you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's so good talking to you. No
Mhm.
problem.
Okay.